Arthur.
Yes.
Do you remember MacArthur?
MacArthur helping Germany to rebuild Germany and France.
Do you remember?
Do you think the United States should have done that, given them money to rebuild?
At first, we were bitter
because
they were helping them, and they're the ones that bombed our young soldiers. And
so you were bitter at first because this was the enemy for all these years during the war, and now we're turning around and they were killing Americans, and now we're helping them.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was sad.
So did anybody protest, or were there any?
I don't remember protesting. No.
After Truman, the next president was Eisenhower. Do you remember the election where Eisenhower became president?
Do you remember who Eisenhower ran against?
Oh, it was, what's his name? I can see his face back.
Do you remember what they used to call him? Didn't they call him Steve? Wasn't it Stevenson? Stevenson? Didn't they call him like an egghead because he was very, very smart?
Egghead. Now his son is.
Who did Eisenhower run against? Was it Stevenson?
I'm trying to find that out. I'm not sure.
And he was very, very smart, the man who imposed.
Adlai Stevenson.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. Very good. Yeah. Do you think Eisenhower won because of his part in the war as a general?
That's it. Yes, I think so too.
You think that's why he won?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he was a good president?
Well, things became much more sober then.
Yeah.
When he became president.
With the Cold War, do you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about the Cold War, Grandma? Were you scared at all? Were you worried about any more attacks?
I was more concerned about my home and stuff like that, really. That didn't bother me.
Because it was, at this point you had all three of your girls now, and they were all very young. Obviously all part of the baby boom generation.
That's really the boom.
Do you remember a lot of your friends also having kids?
They were all older, so there were. I think George Bettis was the only one that had children after the war.
Do you remember any of the women in your neighborhood? Did any of them have jobs after the war?
No, they were all ethnic women.
They were all ethnic women?
Yeah.
In your neighborhood?
Oh, on the east side. I'm sorry, I'm going ahead of myself.
No, when Mom was still a baby. When my mom was still a baby.
Your mom was a baby.
Do you remember the women around you, if any of them had jobs?
Well, Marchell was a good friend of mine. No, they were stay-home mothers.
During the war, did many of them have jobs, though?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
Not that I remember.
How did you feel how did you feel about becoming a stay-at-home mom after working for so many years? Did you mind being a stay-at-home mom?
No, I didn't. I really.
Can we straighten you up a little? You're tilting a little. Better? You didn't mind being a stay-at-home mom?
No, I love Mary Ann.
What about Joni and Mom?
They weren't born then.
Oh, okay.
They weren't born in. We lived in that house for 5 years. still had to wash diapers, and this one woman stopped me on the street when I was taking Marianne for a walk. She said, "How did you get your diapers so white?" I remember that. How did you get your diapers so white?
So you were doing a lot of baking, and you were taking care of the girls. And what was Grandpa doing after the war?
He was working at GE.
And he worked at GE as soon as
he
got.
First, he worked at a
Chase Brass.
Pardon me?
He worked at Chase Brass.
Well, before the war, he worked at Chase Brass. And then after the war, when he came home, he wanted no part of Chase Brass because he worked very hard there.
Okay, wait, before the war, was there any unions?
I don't remember seeing Chase Brass. Right.
Okay, so he was working in a factory, but there were no unions. And
No.
when you say he worked very hard, you mean physically? He worked very hard with his job, right?
Yes, he had to work with iron rods, and that's why his knees are bad, because he used to bend the rods with his,
Over his knee.
yeah. That's why he never wanted to go back there again.
Did he work an 8-hour day at the factory at Chase Brass?
Yes, just 8 hours.
Do you have any idea how much he was paid? If you were paid 80 cents an hour, do you have any idea how much he was paid?
Not too much more than that.
Okay, so less than $1 an hour.
Yes, and of course now you say $1 an hour. Well, at that time, that was big money then.
Okay. So after the war, Dad's first job was what when he came back?
He went back he had this friend, Paul. He worked for an electric sweeper company.
An electric sweeper?
Uh-huh.
So what did Dad
Wait,
do
like a
there?
vacuum cleaner?
I don't remember what he did there.
Okay.
Grandma, what is an electric sweeper?
You mean a vacuum cleaner?
A vacuum cleaner.
Oh, okay.
A vacuum cleaner.
Just making sure I had the right.
And he wasn't making very much. It was hard for us to make ends meet.
Oh.
So
then what was his next job?
Was that GE then?
that was GE.
And
Okay.
when did he start working for E? GE?
let's see. Marianne and Joni and Debbie were born then already.
I was born in 52,
Yes.
so it was after 52. Okay, now as far as Grandpa, now his education, you graduated from high school, but he only graduated from.
He graduated. He was in high school, but didn't graduate though.
Oh,
Because he went to high school for a couple of years.
he did go to high school. I thought he only went to 8th grade,
No, he went to high school.
and he didn't graduate because.
Well, his clothes weren't.
Why didn't Dad graduate from high school?
Because on account of his clothes.
On account of his clothes?
He had. They were poor then. Of course, we were poor too.
So he didn't. It wasn't that he had to help the family.
Well, I guess, it must have been it.
Because Dad's
But
dad.
He had suits that had to be washed, and Grandma washed them by, washer. And
Well, Dad's dad died when he was in 4th grade, right?
well, he was 9 years old. That's all I remember.
And there were 10 kids in that family.
Grandpa was
And
one.
Uncle
Wait, where was
Steve.
he?
Uncle
Grandpa was-
Steve.
Johnstown.
No, but what in line of
In the
time
order?
Grandpa was?
Grandpa was what, the third boy? There was John, Mike.
No, Steve was the
Oh,
oldest.
Steve.